Welcome to Conscious Living here at the Specially Produce Network. We are so glad you're here to support your lifestyle with the fastest growing resource for conscious families. So sit back, relax, connect, and enjoy. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Conscious Living Podcast. We are here in episode 130, and we're so excited today to invite Annie Kalatkar, Master Facilitator of Family Constellations, here live in our studio. She's live in Los Angeles. Welcome, Annie. We are so glad to have you back.
Thank you so much. I love these podcasts, Ashley. Just the whole concept of supporting parents, helping their child or their children. It's just brilliant. I'm so glad you do this work.
It really is, and it's really exciting to have you back. And just almost to the date a year ago, we talked about Family Constellations and the beautiful work that you do and what that means and how Family Constellations really support children and the whole family. And we wanted to really explore with everyone today, a year later, really the depth and the breadth of what that means through a child's eyes. Could you share with us a little bit about what family constellation work is about, just to refresh us a little bit if we haven't heard of this before?
Oh, absolutely. So, family constellation work is a very phenomenological process. It allows us to step into different experiences and gain new insights and perceptions. And we do that through this process that I call interdimensional walking. And this allows us to literally step inside someone else's shoes and have access to how they are perceiving the world around them, especially in a family. They can offer us insights about how they perceive their mother, their father, their siblings. And so I hold space for all of this work to go on inside what's called the knowing field. And the knowing field is accessed through our inner guidance, and everyone has inner guidance. And it's this beautiful feedback system that allows us to gain these insights or multiple perspectives that support us understanding the dynamics of families. And by dynamics, we're really looking at the pain and suffering or the conflict energies that are being created by the dynamics going on inside the family. And it's from inside this healing space that we're able to find the words to begin unlocking the discord that's in the family. And then the family gets into a better order because love starts flowing, because the energy blocks are no longer present. There's more clarity, there's more depth of compassion and empathy, and it ripples through the generations, and it's extremely and profoundly healing for everybody. It creates very big consciousness shifts.
It really does. And through that consciousness shift, then we really turn that into our actions throughout the day, how we interact, how we relate with each other. And it really does turn into long lasting behavioral changes inside of us and creates lifestyle changes we never knew were possible before. It's really beautiful. And so for today, where we're really focusing is what does that mean through a child's eyes? What are you referring to in regards to family constellation work?
Thank you. We often need a way to look at ourselves from outside of ourselves so we can see ourselves differently. And when a parent can step into and see the world from the perspective of their child, it often helps them see what they cannot see in themselves. And many, many times, this is the inspiration or the urge that makes them want to be a better person.
Absolutely.
And and so family constellations really support creating family harmony inside that family structure. And it starts with the parents gaining clarity about how their family works. And that understanding and those insights that they gain, are about the perspectives of everyone in the family. And so the importance of this is that these perceptual experiences inform the parents of how the family are interrelating. And then that is what allows those relationships to heal. There's another aspect here that I really love. It's just that children come from this beautiful innocence, which is the state of love. That is our natural state, innocence, right? And when children are looking through the eyes of love or their innocence, they see the divine in everyone. And they see that spark of love that is the true nature of each and every person. And so when a parent can step into the eyes of a child and see the conflict with, I don't know, maybe multiple family members, they can begin to see the judgments and the beliefs and the projections that are hiding the true nature of each and every family person. So this is like a return to innocence where everyone can heal the judgments, beliefs, and projections that created the conflict and restore that innocence back into their heart space.
Absolutely. And you talked a little bit about perceptual awareness. What does that mean? What does that look like when a parent is experiencing perceptual awareness, either about themselves or their children?
There are so many ways to gain insight. We have our basic senses, our eyes, our ears, and we use those predominantly to take in data, energetic data, right? Body language, vibrations of anger. Even if we can't see the person, we can feel that stress emanating from them at a distance. Um, but then we have all of our intuitive abilities that create layers and layers of perceptual awareness. Well, I kind of heard what they were thinking about in their head. That's telepathy. That's a beautiful innate gift that everybody can develop. But some people come in with it already activated. Sometimes people have profound empathy and they can step into the feelings that the other person's having and gain the insight, which is a very common perceptual awareness. Most people have empathy and that empathic ability to feel what another person's feeling. So those are just a couple examples for helping you understand perceptual awarenesses.
That is beautiful. So what you're really saying here is that there are many ways we can experience through our senses
Mm-hmm.
other ways of relating that we may not understand or notice in the moment, but they're there. We're seeing them, we're feeling them, we're sensing them, even maybe more than the words that are shared amongst each other.
Oh, absolutely. I think the words that are shared are really only 10% of the communication.
It sure can be. And sometimes when our words are jumbled, or we might have brain fog or lack of clarity, or a child is emotionally overwhelmed, a lot of times the words don't make sense anyway. And that's where we're
Oh,
where
it's
we're
so
really
true.
trying to gather all of the perceptions of what's happening so that we're getting more accurate about what everyone is feeling so we can have that beautiful conversation and that beautiful way of relating with one another.
Very true.
Yeah. And so share with me a little bit about how family constellation work creates emotional balance in the children.
First, parents have to become aware of their consciousness problems and actively choose to release the beliefs and judgments that are creating the conflicts in the family from the top down. And this is about how they relate to their children. And from this, the children learn several things. Number one, we can make conscious choice about ourselves and how we relate to ourself and others. Okay, this is called conscious relating. This means we consciously choose how we want to respond to another's thinking with love and acceptance rather than judgments and projections, or an assortment of beliefs that get thrown onto the other person or ourselves, right? Because we can have self-limiting beliefs. And if we have a self-limiting belief that I'm powerless to change, that's going to create some problems in the family. The second thing is, family constellation opens gateways for deeper conscious communication, aka relating, and I think that's super important.
That's like, wow. What do you mean by gateways? What does that really mean? I mean, that sounds fantastic.
It really is. And um, think of a parent who is emotionally suppressed, and that door to talking about emotions is not open.
And so emotionally suppressed is like your arms crossed and I'm not talking about it, and I may feel angry, but I'm not going to talk about it. Is that what you mean?
That is correct. That
Okay.
is correct. And or sometimes the gateway is shut down through a facial expression of scorn or eyeball rolls when you start to bring up an emotional topic.
Oh yeah.
It's saying, nope, that door is shut. We're not talking about that.
Yeah.
Don't go there.
Right.
So
So how does
these
family
are,
constellation work open that gateway? What happens?
well, there's a number of things that happen. I think clarity in our own thinking as parents helps us, and it creates awareness about how we believe life should be. So when we get clear with our thinking, uh, you know, our children then have an opportunity to get clear with their thinking, because we suddenly become a more open resource. Or we're already a resource, a steward, and a guide on their journey of maturation. But if we go a little deeper, children look to their parents as a resource, consciously and unconsciously. They might begin modeling their parents as they grow and learn. So with children looking to their parents, they do look more for guidance more than they're looking for love. Okay. And I got to insert a little comment here that I know you and I have experienced this, but the children that are coming in today are very different from our generation, or just even 20 years ago. The children are coming in already knowing that they are love, and that the other person is love, and that we're not separate, and that's already in place. So it's really, they're not looking for love, because they know I am love. What are you, crazy? I mean, my son tells me this all the time. So they're really looking to their parents for experience and knowledge and support and guidance and direction. But what do all those things, if you put them all, what are they using all that for? It's about learning how to relate to themselves and to others.
Yeah. It really is. And bringing up that point about the kids are looking for stewardship and guidance and resourcing. So, what you're saying is that many times, us parents, if we're kind of closed down to our emotions, or we're closed down or suppressed to our thoughts and our feelings, or if we're like, have a lot of demanding or expectations, then a lot of times those beliefs or limiting beliefs can get in the way of resourcing really what is a deeper truth to the children.
Yes. And I think another way to say that is if you have parents that don't believe in themselves, then, you're going to have children that struggle to believe in themselves. And,
Absolutely.
don't get me wrong, there are kids that come in and they already believe in themselves. They're like, I'm dialed in. I've got clarity about what I'm here for. I know what my sole purpose is. I've got a mission. Just give me opportunity and support me getting there.
Right. Right. And a lot of times, us parents might be a little bit suppressed about that. So, let's say the child comes in and really wants to be an artist in the world, and yet the parents are as a mathematician or scientist, and the other one is doing something else that has nothing to do with art, and that
Yeah.
family environment may not really foster resources or opportunities in art. And so, for
Yes.
example, we may have very limiting beliefs. Well, no, art will never get you anywhere. It won't get you a job. It won't get you money. It won't get you this. It won't get you that. So don't do
Hmm.
it. And
Right.
yeah, and so that's where we're talking about is through the eyes of a child. Your work with people allows them to step in or have that gateway to really stepping into their child's experiencing and see the world through their child's eyes.
Right, right. And those opportunities are fantastic. And then, that support that I was mentioning, that could be like financial support, it could be spiritual or emotional.
So this is really fascinating. So how do you, when you work with families, how do you help them step into that experience and see the world through their child's eyes? Like, so many times we're closed down, right? Because we could be tired, we could be overwhelmed, our to-do list could be really super high. We got to cook and we got to clean and we got to do the dishes and we have to go to soccer and blah 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 blah. And we don't have time to like, wait a second, step into that. So could you share with everyone for just a moment what one modality might look like for a parent to take a look, even this afternoon, into their child's eyes? What would that look like for them?
Okay, first, what I'm going to share is really what I thought you were asking in the first place, which was is what does it look like inside a constellation?
Yeah.
So the short answer to that is when parents come to me to support themselves or their child, we set up what's called a conflict or an entanglement, and we look at what's going on and how are people energetically responding to that situation. And the main reason there's a conflict is because there's some people that don't want to own their part in creating the conflict, and or they can't meet in the middle, they can't see the other side. Okay. And so there's this big lockdown. It's like it's all tied in a knot, and
No
so
joke.
love gets stuck.
It sure does.
Yeah. So if you want to have a moment to just sort of sit where your child usually sits, sit cross-legged and just imagine you're them and watch yourself, maybe across the room working in the kitchen or sitting at the computer, and just from inside their perspective, notice how everyone's moving through the home. Notice how people are talking to each other from your child's eyes, and notice the feelings that go with observing from their perspective, because I think that is where we gain some of the insights. And then switch to, if you have more than one child, switch into the other child and maybe sit in their room, or sit where they sit to watch TV, and imagine you're them. And I love the idea of sitting on the floor cross-legged because it makes us small as adults. And then we can really kind of feel the height difference between the child and the adult, unless you've got a 6'4" teenager. but
That's funny.
and go stand on a box and look down at the parent who's much shorter. But it really does provide insights, and we can have some like, oh gosh, yeah, I feel very sensitive watching this interaction going on, and this is how we report on the experience. And people are often surprised by what they feel, what they sense, what they hear in their head. They actually hear stuff that they were not able to hear previously, like the child's voice wanting the attention. Oh, I was too busy over there. My attention was on this, and I didn't realize the messages I was giving my child, which was creating more separation and more distance between myself and them.
Absolutely. Wow. And to really sit there in the chair or the room is really just an eloquent idea for parents to really step into in that moment and really see through their eyes and see what they're experiencing. That is so beautiful. Thank you for sharing that.
Hmm.
Wow. Wow. And so when you're working with families in the family constellation work, can you describe a little bit more about how this process creates emotional support for everyone?
Oh, beautiful question. So, emotional support, let's define that right now. Uh, this is giving your child guidance on how to comfort their body if they're hurt, or if they have a highly sensitive body, they need to learn to talk to their body and offer that comfort through words and understanding and patience and love. Teaching them to identify their emotions is a very powerful step. Are you sad? Are you just frustrated right now? Where, where did you become unhappy in this process? What was the trigger? Give them words to identify their emotions, and then with those labels, they can have more eloquent conversations with you about their emotional state, and then teach them how to release it. And then we also have support for children between the parents and the adults. We have to teach children what conflict is about. If we do not ourselves know that we can have a conflict with ourselves, we can have a conflict with others, we can have a conflict with life.
Yeah.
And what I mean by life is, we were talking about this just the other day,
like
right? Let's
like
say
all my Legos,
uh,
where'd they go?
well, yeah, but on a bigger scale, right?
Hmm.
If there is, let's say, a natural disaster, and there's all this fear of scarcity around food, and you're working and you're trying to get to a store, but traffic's really bad, and you get there, and you're going to the store in fear,
Right.
right? Then you go to the store and there's nothing left on the shelves. So you go home in a state of more fear, and this escalates, okay? And children are very sensitive to fear and anxiety. They pick up the parents' fear and anxiety. This is why we must, as parents, heal our consciousness, because we don't want our children to adopt our consciousness problems.
Right.
So if
Especially our fear problems.
Yeah. So a person who's coming from that paranoia that there's not going to be enough food, we're going to have trouble, no power, and everything is dire. And the rest of the community is experiencing that as well, and we go into agreement with them, then we have a bigger conflict with life, and we blame the natural disaster, we blame all the other people who got there ahead of us, who had a better opportunity. But let's say that you approach natural disasters with a pronoic effect, and you're like, it's okay, the universe is conspiring to support me. If I get to the store and there's something there, great. If there's nothing, that's okay. Something will show up. And you get to the store, there's nothing there. So you just go home. And you've still maintained your center of peace and trust. And no sooner are you taking off your jacket and thinking about next steps, there's a knock on the door, and it's your old lady neighbor next door saying, hey, I bought 6 loaves of bread today and I want to share 3 of them with you because I know you got 6 kids. Right? It's a very different situation. So when you can teach children not to go and blame life or others for your experience that you are creating, that the child is creating, that helps them have emotional support to stay clear and centered and happy and right on point for expressing their mission and soul purpose, and all of this, you know makes for a child who's happy.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. So, what you're talking about is really supporting families on a very deep, visceral, experiential level of really understanding perspectives from all the angles of their family members, including the children,
Correct.
which then offers an opportunity for them to change their mindsets, their moods, their attitudes, their framework in which they're speaking to their family members, and then that changes the quality of the relationships.
That's correct. That's
Wow.
correct.
Wow. It's
Yeah,
huge.
it's really big. And I think children, it's a trickle down effect, right?
Yes.
And as the parents get more connected to their consciousness, um, they're better able to support their child's spiritual development,
Absolutely.
and it in turn allows them to create an environment where the child can begin expressing their innate gifts and abilities, and it just, things just develop faster and more beautiful. And I think that parents really need to believe in themselves so that their children adopt that same thinking that they can believe in themselves.
Absolutely. And what would be an example of a parent really stepping into their child's experience, for example, and really getting their point of view and understanding where they're coming from, and then turning that around inside of them, and then creating that opportunity for helping the child believing in themselves. What does that mean? Because it's like
Well,
more than
let's
right getting
yeah,
the A on
let's
the test, or
exactly.
winning the race, or doing the best sports, thing that they ever did. Does it really mean to really have the children wake up and say, I believe in myself. I believe I can do this. I know I can do this. This can happen. How do parents really create that transition for them?
It starts with the parents connecting to their inner navigator, their inner guidance, and trusting in that divine connection, if you will. That is truly when a parent is standing in their power, coming from love, healing their conflicts, and setting I'm going to use the word tone of leadership in the family. This is how we do it. We do it from inside, we do it from a position of standing in our power, which is love. And when the parent is clear about that, it transcends, and it goes right into the child almost by osmosis, like, oh, yes, I need to do it this way. And there's there's just a world of beautiful support for children when parents do stand in their power, and then they help the child connect to their inner navigator, and they take a very different approach to parenting. And it's really the one that everybody wants, right? It's like, okay, what does your inner guidance say, little man, or little woman? What,
Right.
I am really trying to let go of the reins and let my son connect, and I have to tell him, okay, Adrian, the answer can be anything it wants to be. What does your inner guidance tell you? And then
Right.
I walk away because I want him to know I'm not attached to the outcome.
Right.
And
And
that
more
is an
attached more
illustration for
attached to the
him.
truth,
Mhm.
right? More attached to the deeper aspects of what they're really experiencing.
Right.
That's
And I
so
think
beautiful.
most conflict with parents and children is that children perceive that their parents aren't going to trust their answer about what's good for them,
Uh-huh.
and vice versa. Yeah. And so this process, look, let me summarize it this way. If if you look at family constellation work for parents, what does it do for the parent? It helps them release emotional baggage that they brought into their new family that they created after leaving their family where they were the child. Okay. Then it helps them release their spiritual suppression. And spiritual suppression is what creates depression, the lack of joy. So when that gets lifted and there's a deeper connection to inner guidance, joy happens naturally. And then here's another beautiful thing that happens that, most people don't really realize, but when you shift your consciousness, there's physical changes to the epigenetics in the family. And I know in the media in the last 5 or so years, there's been these articles floating around about your depression could be your grandmother's depression. Well, yes and no. We still are, a sovereign being, but we have to sometimes work for that sovereignty. So we can change the consciousness that we've adopted from, what was going on in our family, and shift that. And when we do make positive changes, we do adjust our genetic material. So that's beautiful. And then standing in our power, this is gorgeous, because when we stand in our power, which is our true nature, which is love, we are compassionate. We're hooked up to our empathy. We're kindly. Kindness in a family, oh my gosh, the ripple effect of kindness is huge.
It really is. It really
And
is. The ripple effect is really huge, and it goes even beyond, right? Those that are even living. We help, right? It helps the ancestors. It even
yes, it
helps
does.
it even helps, and I think many people really haven't really considered this idea, but it actually helps when our
Future.
children grow up. Yeah, our future children, right? When our children grow up and they have children, now they have a whole new way of looking at life and seeing life from a different perspective.
Yes. Yeah. So, family constellation work helps people shift their consciousness. I want to share a simple story. So, there was a mother and a father that had each other on various pedestals. And the children learned to put each other on, well, one child put the older brother on this massive pedestal and was really idolizing her brother. And her brother was incredibly uncomfortable with this. It made him nervous, actually, because she put him so high, and it was like, oh. And when the parents resolved their codependence, the pedestals all went away in some of these areas that they were creating problems with greater than, less than thinking, and worthy, unworthy. And, in the case of the little girl, she was doing a good dose of, hero worship for her brother. And it was too much for him. And so what happened was equality started to come into the family, and more importantly, interdependence. Okay, interdependence says, I will take care of me for you, and you will take care of you for me.
Yeah.
And this creates non-compete situations in the family. There's It reduces the sibling rivalry. It reduces rivalry between two successful parents. Comparison consciousness starts to dial down, and the ego is moved out of the heart of the family, and there's more meaningful connections, there's deeper connections. It's another way to look at this is, people often try to protect their hearts, and they put chains and locks on their heart. I'm never going to get hurt by like this again. And it's like constellation work helps create those perspectives that we're missing in the first place, and it gently and lovingly moves these layers off and creates these profound shifts that release the person from the conflict, the discord, and suddenly empathy and compassion and forgiveness move through the conflict energies, and there's this liberation from the conflict that changes your health on a mental, emotional, and physical level. And then there's more joy that gets expressed. And it's really beautiful to see in children because in my experience, and I've been doing this for over 10 years, it's probably going on close to 12. Children are so quick to respond to constellation work. It's just, it's amazing. And it's so beautiful to see because everyone wants the child to be having the better experience quicker.
Absolutely. Wow. Fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing all of these aspects about how, we can see our children fresh and new in every moment and see really what they're experiencing up front in this moment and really take from there, that stewardship and that guidance and that resourcing and really support them through their everyday life and really, really growing and flourishing their lives into their happiness and joy, like you had shared. And then that second point, really about helping parents really understand these multiple perspectives, not only their own and where they're coming from and their thoughts and feelings, but also the thoughts and feelings of their children, and then their parents and other people in the family. And then that third part, right? What family constellations really do to help the whole family keep that structure, develop
Change
it,
their
and
consciousness. Yeah.
yeah, and change their consciousness into something that they never knew was possible before, and experiencing those opportunities in life.
Yeah. It's like taking an engine apart and then turning it into a well oiled machine,
Right.
you know? And everything runs smoother.
It really does. It really does. And thank you so much. How can everyone get a hold of you to really experience this family constellation work with parents and children?
Thank you. It's very easy. AnnieCollatcard.com. can use my contact form. And we'll put a link in the information under the video so you can reach out through that as well.
That sounds beautiful. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much, Annie. And we also work together on accessinfinite.knowledge.com. And so if you'd like to explore our energy transmission programs through that website, we also have that available for you. Have a wonderful day, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you, Annie.
Oh, thank you, Ashley, and have a beautiful day, everyone.
Thank you all for listening to this podcast. We are so grateful for you tuning in and experiencing the innovations and opportunities we all can incorporate into our daily lives. Connect with us at centerforconsciouskids.com to sign up for the latest news that showcases these revolutionary services and products. Our global website provides families with an online conduit for enrichment and transformation in all our lives. Please share with other kids and families who would enjoy these advancements in living consciously. I'm Ashley Lee, and I thank you so much for joining us.